I'm going to do an insight video today. I'm off work today, so I've got a bit extra time. So I thought I'd just put some crystals on. So what I did this morning is I've got a few crystals that I've been looking into today. So I've got like hematite for grounding, celestite for like your throat chakra, selenite because it always helps to sort of clear your whole energy aura. I've got a Lemurian light seed crystal, Carlian, Super 7, Angel Aura for peace, balance, harmony. Again, another Lemurian light crystal, Amethyst Skull, and I've just started coming across these. I've seen a few people sort of like use them. Not everybody gets on with them. Not everybody sort of relates to them, but this is about like higher consciousness, the universal mind. So I've started connecting to that as well. And pink amethyst, beautiful for like your aura and your heart energy and stuff like that. So I was doing a meditation today, and I went a bit deep. Started to connect in to this sense of sort of like what's happening at the moment, you know, with us within this sort of like reality. And the biggest thing that was coming up was around like separation, and I felt like the energies and sort of like the source energy, the guides, the ascended masters wanted to talk about this sense of separation. And this is like the biggest boundary we have at the moment, that we're feeling separate. And if we would continue to feel separate and not connect to the universal law of oneness, then what happens is we still remain in this 3D reality. So it's very much around how do we start accessing this infinite source and this infinite self. And I use the words infinite self. I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was just doing I sort of like meet with her like every couple of weeks, and what we do is we have a chat about what's going on with her. And I've always sort of like worked with her, and she's worked with me, and we share insights, and then we start to sort of like develop from there. But I was talking to her yesterday, and this notion sort of like everybody talks about like the higher self, and it's a word I don't really like to use. I don't like to use higher, or I don't like to use lower, or I don't like to use anything labels or terminology like that, because I feel again that's about separation. It sort of limits things in a sense. So I was sort of like going into that, and I was just sitting there and connecting with my own guidance, and this like infinite self, and it was talking about like the infinite self is like an aspect of this like consciousness, this higher consciousness that we can all access, which is all part of our source energy, and we can all access that. And it's about sort of like connecting into that, and then this infinite part of ourselves sort of has sort of like an understanding. It has an understanding. It has the understanding of and the insight of what we need to do, what our purpose is. And it's about us sort of like creating that. So it's very much around that. So it's about what we're doing in our life to remain sort of connected and aligned and less separate. Separation comes through things like limiting. It's about labeling. It's all those kind of things. Separation is this notion that you feel powerless. You know, when you feel powerless within your life, you're still sort of like connected to that 3D reality where you feel like you're sort of like separate. As the infinite self isn't separate, it's part of the whole, it's part of this universal law of oneness. And all of our sort of like, a lot of our purposes are to access that self and access that light, that energy, that source energy. And when you're in that, all there is opportunity. There's opportunity to grow, develop, expand, and start to understand that, you know, we have this light, we have this energy, we have this blueprint in each and every one of us to shift and create our own realities. And once we start to learn how to open up to this infinite self, then we start to open up to this source energy, this energy that flows through each and every one of us. It flows into the trees, it flows into everything, it flows into us. It's the source energy that is the vibration of all creation. And it's about us sort of like connecting into that. And this is where we start to shift past the physical reality, and we start to go into the spiritual realities. And this is what this energy brings. So once we start to awaken to that, so it's about how do we do that? How do we do that practically as beings? Because we don't want to be separate. Because when we're separate, that's when we feel alone. That's when we feel isolated. That's when we feel overwhelmed. Then when we feel low, we feel heavy. All of those kind of things are like a vibration of being separate. When you're out of separation and you're in source energy, you feel at peace, you feel aligned, you feel like you've got no worries, you feel you've got no doubts, you've got no fear, you feel in the moment, and you feel energized, you feel energetic, you feel like your vibration has shifted and changed. Like this morning, I woke up, feel very heavy this morning. I woke up, I walked my wife to work, a couple of miles up to like up the road and back, and I just felt my whole body just ached, and I felt heavy, and it was like in that sense that I wasn't aligned, and I wasn't aligned, and it's like I've just done a meditation, shifted, my whole energy field is shifted and changed. And this is what we used to do. This is what we did for thousands of years when we incarnated in different cultures, when we were in Atlantis and Lemuria. Every day and every moment was about being in harmony. It was about being in union. It was about opening, and it wasn't sort of like about being separate. And this is the problem with the sort of like this time and age, is that we're still feeling very separate. So what it was trying to say is we need to open to that source energy. We need to take time. We need to spend time doing that every day, meditating, using crystals, using any kind of sort of like communication or insight that comes up. Random thoughts, all those kind of things. We need to connect to them, because it's our source energy communicating. It's that sort of infinite source, that infinite sort of information that's flowing through us, and it's asking us to open up to it. Because actually, that's the key. When we start to open up to it, what we start to do is we start to align. And when we start to align, we start to dissolve these barriers, these blocks. But we also start to align more with our source energy, and we start to then see the possibilities, see the opportunities. But we also start to then open up to the source energy in this sense of our consciousness that we can create. And then we start to activate things like the law of attraction. We start to activate the law of vibration, the law of oneness, the law of perpetual transmutation. We start connecting with things like compensation, the law of compensation, where we start to attract it. That very much works with the law of attraction. There's all these kind of things that we start to do. You've got the universal law of correspondence again, which is where we're in our own light, we're only in our own energy. And also in this meditation today, I felt like my whole physical body went very, very heavy. And then what was around me was this pure sphere of light, of energy. This was the impression I was getting. And it was like, you need to walk in that light. You need to walk in that sphere of energy. And it's like, when you're in that, you're aligned, and you're connected into like this creative source energy. And it's about you then sort of like looking at creating a vision of what you want for your life as well, because a lot of us feel like we're powerless. And I keep talking about this at this time, about stepping into your power. I go through this. I've got my job and things like that. I get stressed. I get, overwhelmed with it. But they're always saying to me, you have the tools, you have the keys, or the energy's there. You have the insight. All you have to do is step into it. And a lot of it's about letting go as well. It's about like letting go of stuff, not becoming attached to it. Because the more we attach to something, when we attach to something, we create it. Once we create it, then we start to then have to move through it and dissolve it again. So all these kind of things are going on for all of us at the moment. So it's very much around sort of like moving away from separation and moving more into alignment, moving more into like this infinite self, where we start to open up. My heart energy opens up as I start to talk about this, and I just feel like there's a source energy that pours through me and out of me. And this is very much connects again to the universal law of correspondence. When we start connecting into it, this light, this energy frequency, it's like even like an energy signature. That's what I want to say. It's like a signature or a frequency. And when we start connecting into it, that's when we start to activate this higher aspect of ourselves, but this source energy. And this is where we start to then open our energy up to start creating. So we have to start seeing that we're this creative energy, with this creative source. And it's like anything that's happening in our lives that feels stuck is in relation to what we're attached to. So a lot of this time is about clearing and cleansing as well. Um, Ascended Masters as well. I was sort of like connected into Ascended Masters today, and in this kind of in this kind of sort of like consciousness or this meditation today, it was talking about like teaching and sort of like connecting into that, in this sense that we're all teachers, we're all guides to each other. So we all guide and teach each other. We've all got like lessons that or experiences that we share that help to teach and guide other people. Ascended masters are a little bit different in this sense. I was meditating on it today, and I was saying, well, what about an ascended masters? And in this sense, sort of the answer that came down is like an ascended master is like this being of light that is in like these higher realms, these higher energies. But these masters then come down. They come down through these different frequencies, or they're in these ethereal sort of like realms. But they bring this knowledge and this wisdom from the source, from these higher realms, or not even higher realms, but these infinite realms. See, I've got to get away from using that terminology. As soon as I'm starting to talk about it, I'm being sort of directed again. It's in the infinite realms, because higher and lower limits. Because once you start labeling something, you dilute it, and this is something that I've always believed, and I've felt quite strongly about. Good, bad. They're not. They're all part of the same whole. They're just a different experience or a different vibration. It's not good or bad. It's just a different vibrational frequencies to things. And when you start to see the world in this way, it's not about judgment. It's not about where that person is or where that person is. It's more about it just is what it is. The experience, and that shows like the wholeness, like a bigger picture. It's not about right or wrong or good or bad. It's about it's about expansion. It's about development, growth. But it's about wherever you are, you know, isn't the same as somebody else. But it doesn't make that good or bad. It just makes it different. Everybody's reality is different, and we're all expressing our light in a different way. So it's about sort of like not limiting things by labeling it, because we get caught up in labels. It's a very 3D reality consciousness is to label something good, bad, high, low. Um, you know, it's 3D. Spirit don't see it like that. Spirit just see it's part of a whole, and each of us can shift and move through that kind of wave of that infinite like the oneness, like, or the infinite source of energy. We were on that wave. Each of us are at a point on that wave. Now the wave doesn't go up or down or anything like that, but it just expands. And as we sort of like connect to that wave, then we expand. We connect to that source energy, we expand. Our reality expands, our consciousness expands as we start to open up to it more and more and more. So it's not about where we're at. It's about sort of like we're all connected. We're all part of the same whole. There's no good or bad. There just is. And as we start to become more spiritual, a bit more connected and more aligned, we start to realise, our judgments and our labels are what limits us. And Spirit are saying we shouldn't be limited, because we're this infinite being of creation, like a creative being, and it's about us opening up to our source energy. And when we do that and we align to it daily, more and more, what we do is we open up, and then we start to expand in our understanding of what we can create, what we can bring into our life. Then we activate these the law of attraction, the law of vibration, the law of oneness, the law of perpetual transmutation, the law of correspondence, the law of compensation. All of these kind of things start to activate. So this time's very much around that less separation. When you find yourself getting attached to something, then you've shifted to 3D reality. And if you've connected to a 3D reality, then you need to take time to go into source, sit down, meditate, or connect into your energy, into your vibration, into your frequency, and ask. I open up to this, my infinite self. I'm asking for guidance and understanding and insight and wisdom to try and move through this situation. Do it from your heart. Do it from your heart center as well. And you'll be amazed at what comes through. There might be one insight that comes through, and you think, oh, I hadn't thought about approaching it that way. Or there might be something else. Or you might even just feel something shift or change. Not necessarily, you might not get a dream, you might not get an insight, but what you might get is a shift in your energy, in your body. And you might feel, oh, actually, I feel lighter and brighter today. Well, that's telling you that whatever you've asked for is starting to clear. And remember that our energy fields and our physical bodies hold so many sort of can hold energy sort of like um, hold energy sort of frequencies from things that we've absorbed as well. So spirit work on you physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. They work on all the aspects of it. It's not just about being spiritual. That you know, when we're in this physical body, there's many aspects to that, and it's the same with the spirit world. This is why it's infinite, because there's infinite, like diamonds have these infinite faces or facets, and we're like that. You know, there's many aspects to ourselves. We see ourselves as this physical being, but we're so much more than that, and it's about how we start to shift through that. So the main thing about today is not to get caught in separation. Don't get caught up in attachment. They're all things that where we start focusing something. It could be things about a work related situation or problem. It could be a relationship problem. If we focus on that, we become attached to it, and then what we do is we end up then reinforcing something that's already a block, and then we're adding more energy to it, so it grows and it gets bigger. So this is why when we've got stuff going on, it's important to step back and try and let it go and release it. Because once you release it, then you allow something new to come in, and when you allow something new to come in, then it shifts whatever that pattern is, that block, and then that allows us to start to move through it. So a lot of this time is about shifting, healing, but it's all about opening and expansion at the moment. So it's very much around that, and it's also starting to really open up to our creative source, our creative energy, and this is part of the 5D blueprint as we start to move into this like new phase of creation, but also spiritual reality. Yeah, the Ascended Masters help with this, the angels help with this, guides help with this, but also remember you have an infinite self, and there's an aspect of your, you know, that you're here in this physical body, but there's an infinite self that is a higher, not higher, is an infinite self that's a more expansive aspect of yourself. And once we start to connect into that, we open up our consciousness to the spirit world, to the source energy, the infinite wisdom, the infinite insights, understanding, communication. But we also open up to the many different spiritual realities and realms that are around us at the moment as well. So it's very much around that today. It's very much around moving from separation into alignment, into infinite self.